HR data structures. In this lesson, you'll learn more about HR data formats, and you'll get an introduction to aggregating and combining HR data using multiple systems in Tableau. In essence, most HR systems are transactional systems. They're really good at keeping track of all the transactions that are happening. Keep in mind that when I say transaction, I mean a certain event or happening with a certain time and date. For example, Bill joined the organization on January 1st, so you have a record for that day. And he leaves the organization on June 1st, so you have another record for that day. This means there are two transactions. He joins and he leaves. And those two transactions are input for the system. And that's the way most HR systems work. If you look at an HRIS, at a payroll system or a certification system, all those systems are transactional systems. Although those systems are really powerful and really good at tracking transactions, they're not really made for reporting, and they're not really made for making visualizations. And that's why it's so hard for most HR systems to generate reports and to generate visualizations, because they're just not built that way. They're not built to serve that purpose. You see different HR systems, and from the systems you can generate a data extract, usually a CSV, a character-separated value file. Those extracts can be combined and used for data analysis on the one hand and for ad hoc reporting on the other hand. Combining different HR systems can be done in Excel. However, it can also be done in Tableau. Tableau enables you to do this much quicker and in an almost automated way. And that's the idea of building a data model. Now, in this lesson, I'll give you an introduction, the ramp-up for the data model. In the data model, you connect different systems, like your transactional systems. And that data model can then be used for data analysis and actual reporting in an almost automated way. That's really good. Let's now have a look at the data. For our example, we're going to look at absenteeism data in an organization. Absenteeism is really nice transactional data because it keeps track of employees being absent on a certain day or days. If you know how to apply a data model using absenteeism data, you can also use it for certification systems or for more general HR systems. You can basically apply the same skills that you learn on all transactional systems once you know how it works for one system. The big question is, what data do you need if you want to do operational reporting on absenteeism in your organization? In our example, I'm going to show you 3 different types of data extracts that you can most likely generate with your own SAP or Oracle system. I'll show you how you can leverage those outputs in order to get going with your operational reporting and to start doing analysis on your data. Let's take a look at the data. Imagine your HR manager comes up to you and says, I want you to create a report, and I want to know the absenteeism rate in January. Also, in addition to this, can you give me a list of all the dates in the year and show me how many people are absent ordered per location? We need to make the connection between absence to and the HRIS, because the location where people work is actually in the HRIS. Imagine you have 10,000 rows. You don't want to combine these data sets manually. What I would like you to do is think of an automated way of how you would structure the data so it gives you an answer to both questions. What you can generate manually is a calendar table. I'll also show you how to make the connection between 2 data sets in an automated way and get all the information of both data sets all the time. This way you can do new analysis again and again without having to play around with the data anymore. You can just generate the outcomes. I hope you enjoyed this very practical look into what HR data looks like. I'll see you there. Welcome to the dataset. In this dataset, you see 4 worksheets. The first is HRIS, the one that we're on now. We have absence 1, absence 2, and absence 3. If we go back to the HRIS, you see a number of different fields of a rather small fictitious company. You see the employee ID, number 1, 3, and 5. You see the name of the employees, their age, their function, the location they work in, their gender, the contractual hours, so the number of hours that is in their contract, the actual hours they worked, and some organizations actually do keep track of these numbers separately, and sometimes they might be dissimilar. You see the function code. So for bartenders, the function code is 1, and for a manager, the function code is 8. We see the function name again. I think we have this here, so I will hide this for now. We see the organization number for HR, the organization name for HR, the date of birth of the employees, and an Excel date is actually a number, so we need to format this to a date. There we go. Now you see that this is the European notation, so we have the month in the middle. We see the salary level, we see the start date that they started working at the company. Again, this is a number, so we need to format this to a date. Here we go. We see the end date. These employees all still work at the company, so this is an empty field for now. And we see the job type category. So the bartenders and the managers are all part of the core team. But for example, cleaning service would not be part of the core team, but it will be part of an external or different job type. Anyway, this is an overview of some of the categories that you might get when you create an extract from your HRIS. Be aware though that different organizations keep track of different variables. Some organizations, for example, keep track on how many children someone has, whether they're married or not, where they're living, where they're working, etc. But this is just a basic set of information on, in this case, an organization with 3 employees. For now, in order to understand the concept of working with different data extracts and connecting different data sets, we're going to work with this tiny data set so that it's easy to understand. Now, let's look at 3 ways of how you can extract information on absenteeism. And the first one is absence 1. This is a rather simple data set. We have a database for just January, so this is the absent hours of January. You see the employee ID and the number of hours that this person was absent in January. Now, what if we want to combine this data set to our HRIS? The easiest way to do this is by connecting the employee ID of the absence 1 dataset to the employee ID of the HRIS dataset. And the way to do this in Excel is by using a VLOOKUP function. So here I will type in absent hours and we'll use the VLOOKUP function. So I type equal VL and it gives me VLOOKUP. First, I will ask the search key, which is employee ID. So I select that and type comma. And then it will ask me for the range. So where do we look for the return values? That is this data set, the absence 1 dataset. I select this and press comma. Now it asks me for the index. So this is column 1 and this is column 2. I want the return values to come from column 2. So I type in 2. Another comma, and it's asked me if it's sorted. In this case, it's true, so I type in true. I press enter, and now I see in the HRIS dataset that the absent hours from absence 1 are returned here. I can expand this for the rest of the column, and you see that all the values match exactly for the right employee ID. So now you see how you can join 2 tables in Excel. Tableau, however, has a much quicker and easier way to do this. But in order to understand how that works or how to join tables in Tableau, you need to understand how joins work. And I'll show you this now. So what we see here are 2 tables that are quite similar to the tables we just looked at. You have table A, which is the HRIS data, and table B, which is the absence 1 data. Now, if you want to join those 2 together, you're going to make a match on employee ID again. You see both tables hold information on 4 different employees, but not all the IDs are an exact match. You see both tables hold information on employee ID 1, 3, and 5, but 6 and 8, they don't have a match. So the type of join that you choose to combine those 2 tables together is going to have a big impact on what your result table is going to look like. So we're going to look at a few different types of joins. And the first one is an inner join. With an inner join, you say, give me, as a result, the values that are in both tables. So the value has to be in table A and in table B. In this case, it is ID 1, 3, and 5 that are in both tables. So this will be your output table. Employee 1, 3, and 5 with all the information both of the tables hold on these IDs. Employee ID 6 is only present in table A, so this is excluded, and the same goes for employee ID 8, which is only present in table B. It has no match to table A and therefore is excluded from your result table. You can also make a left join, and with a left join you say, give me all the information of table A, and then where possible match table B to it. But also the information of table A that has no match to table B, I want that also included in my result table. So that's going to look like this. You have employee ID 1, 3, 5, and 6, all of the IDs from table A, and then where possible, the match with B is made. So that is ID 1, 3, and 5. And you see that the information of table B on those IDs is over here. And then for employee ID 6, table B holds no information. So you get empty cells with null values there. You can also do it the other way around. So make a right join and say, I want all the information on table B. And then where possible, make a match with table A. So you get employee ID 1, 3, 5, and 8 in your result table, and then where possible, the match with table A was made. So that's on employee ID 1, 3, and 5, and you see the information on those employees. And then for table B, employee ID 8, table A holds no information because 8 is not present in this table. So you see this row has null values in table A. The last join you can make is a full outer join. And with a full outer join, you say, give me all the information of table A and all the information of table B, and then make a match where possible. And just like with the right and the left join, give the other rows null values if the table holds no information for that ID. So you see that the type of join has a big effect on the output table that you're going to get. So always keep this in mind when you try to combine two tables together. All right, let's now go back to the data. Let's take a look at absence 2. Absence 2, we see a date field again, which looks like a number, so let's format this into a date. We see the employee ID. We have an absence rate, which I'll transform into a percentage. And we have the absence reason. Now the absence reason is not important for now, so I will hide this column. So this is absence 2. And as you can see, this is a more complicated and more advanced data set. In absence 2, you'll find the exact same absenteeism information as in absence 1, only it's structured differently. The number of hours in absence 1 are an exact match of the number of hours in absence 2. The only difference between the tables is that absence 1 holds the actual working hours, and absence 2 also includes the weekends. So if somebody is ill from Friday until Tuesday, the weekend days are also included in this format. Anyway, that's how absence 2 is recorded. If you now want to do the same thing that we did with absence 1, so connect it to the HRDA data, like we did here with the VLOOKUP, if you want to do the same thing with absence 2, it's going to be much harder to do. Because you would first need to get a sum of the number of absence hours per employee ID, and then connect the output of that calculation to your HRDA dataset. Especially when you have an organization with 10,000 people, that's going to be almost impossible to do, because Excel just can't handle that kind of computing power. That requires too much information to be processed. So the last extract we're going to look at is absence 3. Now here you see a start and an end date. So I will transform this again into a date. And again, this table holds the exact same information as absence 2. Only, again, it is structured differently. We see employee 1 is ill from the 1st until the 3rd, and again from the 6th until the 10th. And then we see here, this is the exact same information. Now, absence 3 is the trickiest version of working with data. It's also a common notation for systems, and depending on how you create an extract from your original source system, you get these different outputs. Ideally, you're in control of the system and you can create your own extract. In that case, you can define the parameters in a way that your data is easy to process. So try to stay away from this kind of setup, because it requires you to work with databases and to structure your data in a much more advanced way. Try to work with these kind of notations. It's easier to work with. A short thing that might be interesting with working with these kinds of data is that you can calculate the difference between the dates. And I'll show you how to do this now. So if you have the end date and you extract the start date plus 1, you get the number of days that employee 1 was ill. So we can do this for the rest of the employees as well. And this will be number of days that somebody is ill. Now you can make a nice bar chart of this overview. The bottom line is, when you create an extract, be really mindful of what your data will look like. So set the parameters, either when you're owner of the system and you can create the extracts yourself, or you talk to IT or HRDA, depending on how it's structured in your organization, and you sit with them and you tell them how you want the data. Ask them, how can we structure the data? And give them clear instructions, because the way your data is structured will really help or really hinder how you can process your data.